Hi everyone, I'm Maitraye from Northeastern University, and today I'm presenting our paper titled From Provenance to Aberrations, Image Creator and Screen Reader User Perspectives on Alt Text for AI-Generated Images.
I'm Cynthia Bennett, and my colleagues from Google Research, Alexander Fiannaca, Meredith Morris, and Shaun Kane also collaborated. Alt text is a text description of images which provide non-visual access for blind and low vision people and screen reader users. For example, the alt text for this image reads, "A wide iceberg in the sea colored as the Dutch flag. The iceberg's top is red, middle is white, and bottom is blue. The background is a gray overcast sky, and the sea is dark, so only the bottom section of the iceberg is reflecting in the water." Alt text guidelines and best practices have existed for decades, but many images still don't have it, meaning blind and low vision people don't have access to them. For example, in 2023, 1/3 of images on the 1 million most visited web pages did not have sufficient alt text. Meanwhile, image generation methods are expanding more than ever. For example, now people can use generative AI tools such as DALL-E, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion to create images just by writing a text prompt of what they want the image to contain. For example, the image I showed you before was generated using the prompt, "A photo of an iceberg colored as the Dutch flag." This advancement in image generation is exciting, but sadly, none of these text-to-image or T2I models produce alt text with their images.
In a recent study that came out last year, Hai and colleagues developed a tool called Gen Assist that provides comparative descriptions of images outputted from T2I models so that blind creators can select images according to their particular content needs. And this is a great step towards AI image accessibility from a creator perspective. However, we are still missing perspectives from consumers who may read alt text for AI images that are created and shared by others. So with these in mind, we focused on understanding how we might improve alt text production and consumption for AI-generated images.
We conducted an alt text evaluation study for AI images with 16 screen reader users and 16 sighted creators who use T2I models to create images. You can read the paper for more details about our study method.
Briefly speaking, we prepared alt text for AI images generated from 4 different sources, which the image creators and screen reader users evaluated during the study. On this slide, we have the 4 versions of alt text for the example image of the iceberg with Dutch flag colors. So first, we were curious about whether text prompts can be a good alternative to alt text. So we used the prompt directly as one version of alt text. Then we created one version of alt text using a vision to language captioning AI model. We had one version of alt text prepared collaboratively by 2 research team members, one blind and one sighted, who are also alt text subject matter experts. To prepare this version, we used best practices and erred on the side of including more information so we could learn what details specifically were more or less helpful. We did not read the prompt that generated the image or any other version of alt text while preparing this version. And finally, we included the alt text written by the image creator themselves.
We had 4 research questions that guided our analysis. 1. What are the characteristics of alt text for AI images prepared from different sources? 2. How do creators and screen reader users evaluate alt text from different sources? 3. Can text prompts be a good source of alt text for AI generated images? And 4. What should be described in alt text of unique content of AI generated images? For the sake of time, we'll only talk about the results for research questions 3 and 4, and you can read the paper for the others. RQ3 asked if text prompts could serve as alt text. In short, no, they can't, because prompts often lack important information necessary to develop a complete understanding of the image. To better understand this, we categorize the content in text prompts by inductively coding user feedback, and we came up with 4 categories of content in prompts, such as irrelevant content, generic descriptions, undepicted phrases, and jargon. For example, the image on here shows a colorful ink explosion. The prompt contains some terms that provide a generic overview, like the explosion of thick fire smoke paint ink, but it does not give details of the different colors. There are also some undepicted phrases like the white Fender Stratocaster, which is a guitar and is not in this image. undepicted phrases were very confusing to screen reader users. And we also read some jargon terms like V for updata, which was very hard to listen to with screen readers. But sometimes the prompt jargon included useful information about visual properties, style, and creator intent. For example, the image on this slide shows a painting of a smiling monkey. The prompt mentioned the term Renaissance oil painting, which our participants found useful, and everyone who evaluated this image included the term in their ideal version. Creators also shared that they used the text prompts as a starting point for writing alt text.
Next, in RQ4, we asked what information should be described in alt text for AI images. We want to emphasize that most of the existing guidelines and best practices for alt text of traditional images still apply to AI-generated images, but here we were curious about what information is particularly important to capture the unique aspect of AI images that are less common in other kinds of images. So we found 4 factors that shaped information needs in alt text for AI images, and we'll describe the first 3 of those. So first, we found that several participants wanted to access information about the origin of the images, or provenance, which was not readily available in a non-visual format. Although some models generate a visual watermark, it was not always included in alt text, and some models did not even generate a watermark, or it can be easily edited out in post-production. Several screen reader users shared why they wanted accessible provenance information. One of them said, "I think AI images have a lot of potential for danger if they are not labeled correctly. It can lead to fake information that can have a really bad impact on our society." So in our study, we saw that creators often described visual watermark, and even if they did not include it in their initial version, they added it in the ideal version of their alt text, modeling after how it was described in expert written alt text. For example, the creator alt text of this image on this slide said, "Party image in SR is written near the bottom right corner." Importantly, screen reader users emphasized that they needed the provenance information to be easily understandable without prior knowledge of T2I models. For example, one screen reader user confused the model name mentioned in the alt text with the robot that is depicted in this image. They said, "I don't know what that party image in SR is. I was thinking, is that the name of the robot?" So screen reader users tried different plain language phrases to convey provenance. As you can see how a small difference in phrasing made a watermark description more comprehensible to one screen reader user. While the creator wrote party image in SR is written near the bottom right corner, this screen reader user wrote image made by party image in SR. And we also want to talk about alt text needs related to aberrations in AI images. Often AI images include surrealistic, distorted depictions that do not match familiar representation of bodies and objects, which we call aberrations. And we learned that aberrations can be important to describe, but it depends on a specific context. For instance, aberrations would be relevant if those were the main reason an image was shared with others. For example, creator C9 had seen this happening in AI forums, and they said, "If that image is being shared because of these funny hallucinations, I would hope that alt text reflects that." Another screen reader user, who was also a content creator, explained the impact aberrations could have on managing her reputation. She said, "I would want to know when I'm generating and when I'm choosing an image, because it's my brand, and I want to be careful with what I post." In our study, we found that experts and creators often called out aberrations in alt text. For example, on this slide, the image shows a cartoonish birthday party for a mouse, and the creator wrote, "A letter banner above the mouse reads Diri Arihua among some illegible letters, a possible aberration of AI model used to generate this image." However, creators often found these aberrations hard to articulate. And similarly, screen reader users had trouble visualizing these aberrations. Referring to the alt text of the mouse birthday image, one screen reader user said, "The pedestal has a cake on it, but it melts into a squashed present. I'm having trouble understanding what that looks like or what that means." So for this reason, screen reader users explained that they will need more detail for understanding aberrations or content that are completely made up. because they could not compare those with real-life objects to make sense of them.
The third factor that impacted alt text for AI images concerned content that was visually uncertain. For example, the animal on this image was interpreted as an alpaca by experts, whereas the creator described it as a llama. During this study, the creator said, "Maybe it's an alpaca, but I asked for a llama. So I'm thinking it's supposed to be a llama." So in such cases, creators' intent was important for resolving visual uncertainty in the image. Importantly, screen reader users often preferred accuracy over subjective interpretation, even if it meant choosing a generic term over a specific one. For example, the orange object in this image was described as a flamethrower, a weapon, and a bat in different alt text versions. A screen reader user chose the comparatively generic term weapon in their ideal version because they felt that it should not be described as a flamethrower if it's not explicitly sure that it's a flamethrower.
So overall, our study highlighted the factors that influence what information creators and screen reader users wanted in alt text for AI images, and how they wanted that information to be articulated. And why are these insights valuable for our understanding of AI image accessibility? Existing alt text best practices are relevant for AI images, but we found some key differences and opportunities. In particular, we found that text prompts may inform but not serve as good alt text. Our categorization of prompts into irrelevant content, generic overview, undepicted phrases, and jargon may help in parsing certain prompt phrases as useful and unuseful for creating alt text. And aberrations and novel content may need more detailed description, and which content necessitates more detailed descriptions will evolve as AI image generation continues to evolve. We also found that content creators need support writing alt text to ensure that they don't resolve visual uncertainty with their intent. And so we need more research to investigate how to show different alt text versions, particularly for visually uncertain content. And finally, we want to emphasize that screen reader users need accessible and plain language methods to discern the sources from where content originated. Alt text should not be relied upon for provenance, as it is otherwise invisible and optional. Alt text should only cover what is visible in the image, and there may be no watermark, or the watermark may not be comprehensible to screen reader users who are unfamiliar with T2I models. So we want to call for provenance, explainability, and accessibility researchers to work together to address these critical issues as T2I models continue to evolve. Thank you for listening. Please read our paper for more details and insights.